Healing crystals, skincare routines, knitting a sweater, fitting in jeans. With Katie and Sarah, no need to worry, you're on a lady journey.
Lady Journey.
Lady Journey. Oh my gosh, the sun has setted and it's 4:15 p.m.
It's 4:15 and
It might as well be midnight. Yeah.
God, it's so fucking weird.
Yeah. It is
so
depressing.
weird.
It's depressing. It feels like
Hoogie.
hoogie. I think it's pronounced hooga, but I like us keeping calling it hoogie.
Oh my God. I was the worst American over in Germany. And also in Wales, because their alphabet's fucked. Like their vowels are consonants and their consonants are vowels.
It's so confusing.
There's their town. You look at something, you're like, that looks like it should be this. Like in France, we would call Mamart. I don't even know if I'm calling that right. I was just like, we'd call it Walmart. Do you know? We were like, nah, we're not calling it that. We're gonna name it. There's like a Welsh town that we go to. I don't even know how it's pronounced, but we just call it Dollywoo.
Dollywoo.
And I don't even think that's.
I love it. I like Americanizing everything.
Just being like completely rude and ignorant about it.
I won't go to Walmart.
They're like, that's not even close to the pronunciation. You're like, I don't care.
I don't care. I'm from America and I'm hungry.
You're like, we've established our own culture in this relationship, and we will name it however we want.
We're appropriating it.
Yes.
Well, it's hard when they don't have the right alphabet. Well, I was briefly in Russia when I was in college to do my studies, and they use the Cyrillic alphabet, and it's a culture shock to see it, because it's like X, Y, 3, you're like, what is happening?
Is there a number in your alphabet?
What's happening?
No, yeah, it's all, but it is really fun to just be a complete piece of shit.
Ugh, I love it.
It's so much easier
for it.
Well, I was having that thought while doing stand-up of like, oh my God, instead of just like trying to learn all the new rules, can I just be offensive and then apologize later? And that'll just be so much easier for me.
Yeah.
Than to be like, yeah.
Try to live with the fear of accidentally offending somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you never know. I did a show and it was an innocuous joke. I was talking about an IUD and I said, well, if you're a guy that has one, it was like, and it gets a laugh. And then I got an email being like, I'm a man and I have an IUD. And I'm like, that's fine. I get it. But you're like, I can't. It's such a long setup for me to be like
if you're a guy or a man who could have an IUD, which we don't need to go into the specifics, but it's like, okay, for that person, it's like, did you really need to do that?
I know.
Did you really need to like educate me when it's like, this is a joke. We're all having a fun time. It's not a joke against trans people.
Yeah. And I was operating that I was also doing a show that was predominantly a hetero audience. Now, if I knew that I was going to do a show that was predominantly like trans, I think I probably would have catered my material to be more encompassing. Or inclusive.
Yeah. I just don't think that that's like excluding people by having a punchline that's like, or if you're a guy, you know, it's not. I don't think it's not like you're not like allowing them to have fun.
Yes, and it was noted and fine. I didn't engage in it, and I did take the joke out because I was like, it is dumb. I don't think it's like that great.
If it's like, well, it wasn't even.
It's
really
just like a throwaway
to favorite one. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I just feel like it's okay to have little stupid jokes on the way to your big joke.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's just tricky. It's like if you are like speaking in a way that you never offend anyone, it's like one thing to be like, well, I don't use slurs on principle because I think it's wrong and I don't want people coming to my show and getting inspired to commit a hate crime.
Yes.
And that's why I choose not to use slurs. But it's like, and that's my choice as a comedian. And, it's like, that's one thing. It's like, we're all here to have a good time. And then the other thing, which some people seem to expect of you, is to like be speaking in a way so as to never offend anyone ever in any possible context. But it's like, I've got news for you. If somebody wants to get offended about something, they will get offended.
Oh yeah, you can. It's really funny because you don't think your act is offensive until you do a corporate gig.
Yeah.
And then you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Or perform in Brooklyn.
Yes.
It's like, like I've offended people by telling a rape joke that was something that happened to me.
Yeah.
And or like I've offended a guy because I said, "Oh, you look like a lacrosse player."
Yeah.
And it's like those are things that like you can't micromanage yourself, so you can never offend anybody, when the fact of the matter is some people are getting offended by their own selves.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting offended by what's going on inside of your own mind.
Yeah, because there's a lot of times I like watch stuff and I'm like, yeah, I guess so, but whatever, it's not even that big of a deal, and
Yeah.
it's like a waste of time to get upset about it.
I mean, I watch stuff from like 2000s and I'm like, whoa, oh boy, I would never say that.
I know. Don't you think it's like really funny to think that when you watch Friends that you're like, oh my God.
Friends are like Sex in the City. Like, oh my God, Sex in the City. You're like, okay.
Well, I just watched the first one's like crazy now by today's standards. And you're like, that didn't even feel that long ago, but I just watched the new reboot.
I couldn't watch it. I couldn't. I watched
like
5 minutes.
It's like they're atoning for like horrific actions. I'm like, well, now I think you guys have gone way too far.
Yeah.
Not way too far, but just like
overcorrected.
Trying too hard is what I
Trying
feel like.
way too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't watch the new one. I mean, I'm sure like some of our journeyers out there, I'm sure you guys are watching the Sex and the City show, but I couldn't stomach it. And I loved Sex and the City when it came out. I was like, not when it came out, when I watched it in like 2010 or 11. I was going through like a bad breakup. It was like the perfect thing for me.
Oh, it's easy. It was fun.
Great. I loved like how they go out and the restaurants. I was really expecting to like, and then I rewatched it, years later, and I was like, okay, there's some of this is problematic, most of it, and then I was expecting to love the reboot, and I turned it off after 5 minutes. I said no.
What is it? I didn't expect this to be our journey, but I'm okay with
it. Is we have taken a sharp left. A sharp left into Mr. Big. It was so cringe. I really found it so cringy. It was like
it was cringy.
It was
Why
cringy
was it cringy though?
because
I couldn't put my finger on it.
You know what it was? It was almost like they were trying to do what they did in the other shows, and it was not organic.
It didn't feel organic, right?
It did not feel organic. It felt like they had no growth as characters. It felt like it was the same characters in a completely different context.
I also felt tonally the show felt different the second time around.
Yeah.
It felt like they were doing more sitcom-y kind of humor than actual, like, just watching people kind of be friends together that happen to have funny jokes every now and then. Yeah,
it was like it had completely different writers and they were trying to do something, and it just seemed like it was overwritten maybe.
Also, it's depressing.
Yeah, it's depressing. And like the punchlines that was like, okay, if this is an organic conversation, like there's two types of like funny writing. It's like one that's like heavily punched up to the point like no one would actually talk like that. Could you imagine like you're like with your friend and she's like, well, I wouldn't say that. It's like
more like Goldie Cox. I'd be like, are you okay, Katie?
You're a fucking bitch. Do you have adult ADD? Because stop. Like, it's insufferable. So that was the one thing where I was like, no, I can't do it.
Oh my goodness. Can't. I want you to push through so we can talk more about
I might try
do
it.
A Sex in the City update of like, I'm going to give it a chance. I also have to say, this sounds so harsh, but maybe I'm just been so used to all of our actresses just being like photoshopped or like Botoxed and filler. I mean, I know some of them did look like there was work, but I think a lot of them look like they've aged gracefully or naturally, and I appreciate that as a viewer.
Absolutely.
But it's jarring because I hadn't seen that show has been off air for, what do you say?
20 years.
Oh, yeah, right?
A full 20 years. It came out in 99.
So they're 55.
Yeah.
I'm like, they should have just moved down to Florida and live in one apartment and eat cheesecake at night, and it's Golden Girls.
Golden Girls. Yes, just let it be Golden Girls. because I felt that sense of it too, where it's like, oh, it kind of made sense. Their whole lifestyle kind of made sense in the late 90s of like, in the 90s, it was a much more dressed up culture. New York was a more dressed up culture. Even in the early 2000s, now it feels New York is actually a very casual culture, I feel like.
Yeah, they're wearing like 1950s skirts.
Yeah, it's like you're wearing your same loud fashion that you would be so out of place.
Yeah.
And it's not the New York that I know. It's like they are only going in and around Columbus Circle, I guess.
They need to wear some jeans.
If you meet your friends for brunch, you're not wearing the finest clothes that you own.
Yeah.
Even if you're going to a nice place.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like that classic thing of like, rich people don't dress like to the nines at every event. They wear like nice, understated pieces.
Yeah, it's called coded luxury, which I'm
coded luxury. And that's actually what I try to trick people into thinking I'm doing by buying off brands.
From Costco.
Yes. Ooh, Kirkland. Where's that? Oh, it's a secret.
I did what it was. You're like, I really like Samantha's technically, I think 60 because she was quite a bit older than the rest of the girls. Also, that relationship was weird because we all know the drama off set. So their incorporating felt really nice because it felt like they were like, well, we're open to her coming back. It's not bad, but at the same time, we all know what's going on.
Yeah, and that kind of like ruined it for me too. It's like, oh, she's just in London, I guess.
I know, weird.
She's just off the show.
Yeah.
And it's like, can she retire?
Yeah, how about she just retires and like you just hear from her occasionally. And then you're like, oh, they look old.
They look old.
And so that was where it was like hard where you're like, we're aging.
Yeah.
And this is what's really happening. And I'm like, is it good to revisit a show? And I would be interested to know what other people think. But I've heard some people don't like it. My hairdresser doesn't like it.
Yeah. I'm interested to keep watching it just to see like what subject matter they tackle, because it felt like from the 5 minutes that I watched, like it was going into a territory of like, well, yes, we've aged, but we're still like, doing the same young thing. And it's like, ugh, I don't want to see a show about women that are in their 50s who are still like living the lives of women in their early 30s, because it's like, is there no like growth ever? Like, I don't want to be in my 50s being like, I'm bopping around and going to clubs in New York City. It's like, if that's what you like to do, that's fine. Like, there's no judgment, but I just like, for me, if I'm like going to hold these women as like my heroes, I need for them to have like a growth that's like not like I'm insisting that I'm 25 when I'm clearly not.
Oh, yeah. Like,
because I saw like the trailer of it. It was like they're out at like a dance club, and it's like I don't want to do that.
No, I remember when I was like an office administrator of a restaurant, and a lot of times it'd be like a confessional for waiters to come in while they had time to kill in between tables. And there was a woman that I worked with that was like in her 50s and single, and she was kind of like, she liked going two-stepping, and she was dating, and she had her own apartment and all that. And I remember her like coming into the office, and she was crying because she was dating a guy for about 2 weeks, and then she found out he had been kissing another girl at the two-step club.
He was two-timing her at the two-step? My God.
And I remember being like this, oh my God, it doesn't end.
Yeah.
It doesn't end. And I remember being like, if I'm dating at that age and I'm crying over a guy that's kissing another girl, I'm like, I will quit I'm not dating after a certain time.
Yeah, you just want to
like,
move.
I don't want.
You
it seems
move
childish.
On from it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about like Sex in the City. It's like that was a fun time in your life, but it's like if they don't ever move on from that, then it's like, is this hell?
Yes.
Is this a hell where you just you're in serial monogamy until you die, and you never like meet that person that you really want to settle down with, or you never like are like, you know what, maybe I'm just gonna be single and like write a book, you know,
yeah,
or
quietly.
I'd
I'd rather watch that.
Yeah.
Just her going into the woods in her nice second home writing a book.
Yeah, and the whole thing about like the podcast, I was like, okay, I get it, great, you have a podcast now. But I never liked the financial the complete financial irresponsibility of Sex and the City. Always like drove me a little nuts, where it was like she writes an article once a week and then she buys $800 shoes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, regularly.
Yeah.
She's like, I just had to do it. It's like, oh, Carrie's parents are rich.
Yes. Or like, can we go into her credit card bills for a second?
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. No, I am fascinated to see where it goes, but also where the 90s were actually, like, when you think about it, a really nice time.
One thing that I love about the 90s, even though I was like pretty much a kid the whole decade, is that I love in 90s movies there was like such a formality of dress wear.
Yeah.
It was like women really dressed like, if you were a woman in your mid 20s in the 90s and you had like a job, you really like owned slacks.
Yes.
And you owned like neck scarves, and it was just like so formal and gorgeous. And now it's like everyone just like wears sweatpants everywhere.
Leggings with maybe like an athletic blazer.
Yeah, yeah. Like you don't
Did
wear.
I make that up? I don't know.
No, it's true, but you really don't wear like business wear in the modern era unless you're like working a corporate job.
Yeah,
you know,
like
that
finance
you need
or
to wear, and then and even then, it's not like the most stylish stuff that anybody wants to wear. But I did buy a pair of slacks recently from Everlane, and I do love them.
Yes. Oh, that's a great.
Yes, the Forever
company.
Slack.
Yes. Yeah, guys, I watch Sex and the City and
Watch
come
Sex
back
and
to
the
us.
City. Yeah.
I guess that can be my lady journey, unless we want to get into the.
Do we have time for it?
No, I can do it on the next one. Maybe I'll do it as the bonus one.
Oh yes,
We'll
great
do it
idea.
as the bonus.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
And by the way, welcome to Lady Journey.
Did we
20
forget?
minutes in. I don't think we did an intro. I think
we took a hard left.
We've been talking for about 8 hours. And we've never stopped. I like the fourth episode that we do in our session is always where we're just kind of riding the rails. We're just
It's who we really are.
Oh, we let it out. We
get to
let it
be
out.
Us. What? That's really my lady journey, because I did 2 episodes last night, so I'm caught up to
Yes.
Sex in the City.
I'm gonna give it another chance.
And yeah, at least if you hate it, we can joy to hate it together.
Yes, I
Yeah.
will hate watch it.
Revel in hatred.
Oh, I love it. Oh yes, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in by pressing play on your podcast button or YouTube, wherever you are. Please give us a review if you haven't. And you know what? I'm going to say today, I'm not going to do, iTunes, Spotify. I'm not going to list everything today as I always do. Like, you guys get it. But just tell a friend. Why don't you call your most annoying cousin and say, hey, girl, this is for you. Yeah. Lady Journey.
I think it's a free gift.
It's a free gift. And that's word of mouth that's how things get sold.
Oh, yeah.
That's how
I mean,
things get
just kind
sold.
of nonchalantly bring it up in a cocktail party this season.
Yes. A New Year's party. Be like, my New Year's resolution, Lady Journey.
Oh my God.
To go on a journey.
Did you guys know about Lady Journey? It's like these 2 really funny females, and they talk about
misogyny. I think they're
The glass
taking
ceiling.
the power back. I think they're taking the power back. So my journey, this has been actually a pandemic journey for me. And
pandemic journeys.
Oh, so delicious.
How
And
many?
I feel like I kind of maybe told you a little bit of this story, since you were like one of my rocks during the pandemic, because we were neighbors and we would get together for a stroll
Yes.
about once a month.
I miss the walks. The pandemic walks were lovely.
The walks were great.
Yeah, I haven't done a walk in a while.
Well, maybe you guys don't know this about me, but Sarah, you know that I had hair that was basically down to my butt for about 10 years.
Yes, long, beautiful. Did you donate it or just throw it out?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to because of what happens in the story. But well, my hair was too long. It was long to the point that it was actually off-putting, and I knew that. But I was like,
I'm not being like this, saying yes, I agree. I am agreeing with I'm in the same boat right now where I'm like, I need to cut it.
Yes.
Because it gets to an area of like, I need to start reading hymns from the good book.
Yes, like, am I in misery? Yeah, like what? But yeah,
I'm braiding it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I knew mine was a problem when I would put a clip like this. I was kind of going for like a very Mormon look. You know, a child bride kind of. But my hair was so long and it did look like a cult. But I just loved it, and I was really afraid to cut it, and I just felt like my identity was so wrapped up in my hair because it was so long. But about the year before the pandemic, so in 2019, I did start cutting it like I cut it like this length.
Kind of like getting ready.
I was getting ready, and I was cutting it like a little shorter and a little shorter. And like around the October before the pandemic, I had actually gone with like a lob. So I had it like a bit shorter in the back and a bit longer. So I was experimenting more with like long hairstyles, but were still like a foot shorter than what I had. But I really wanted to go short, and Mike would always be like, I think it would look so great with short hair. You know, like maybe if you would try it, like you would probably like it. So during the pandemic, I was on YouTube and I decided to start cutting my own hair, which I don't really recommend.
Wait, I've only done bangs.
Well,
and I feel like that's safe. I feel like doing a full haircut on yourself is
a risk.
Dangerous territory.
It's absolutely. Well, this is what happened because I watched one YouTube video and I was like, that made perfect sense to me.
It does. I saw somebody give themselves a wolf haircut on TikTok, and the way they did it was very basic, and it looked good. And I'm like,
I was inspired.
Yeah.
I was totally inspired because like there are haircuts where you're like, oh my God, that person just, and I talked to Carmen Lynch and she was like, yeah, I just cut my own hair. I just like flip it over and just like trim it. You know, I just trim it a little bit. So I cut it one time and I nailed it. And it looked great. And it was like about like, you know, still a little bit long, but still like below shoulder length.
Yeah, like if you messed up, it would take you about a month to get back to.
Yeah. It was like nothing crazy, but I went slowly. And then the second time I tried to cut it, I decided I was first of all over caffeinated, which that's a big problem for me in my life on the regular.
That's a common theme.
Yeah, like I'm laughing manically. I wonder what it could be. That's a common struggle because my birth control, and anybody that's on birth control, it makes you process caffeine twice as slow as a normal person. So
I had no idea.
Yeah, it sucks. But so this is what happened. I decided I watched the video again. I was like putting my hair in like I put it in like the little ponytail, like 2 here and 2 here. And then I had 2. I was going to do 2 layers. But I remember I was like rushing through it because I needed to like do something. I was busy. I had a lot of stuff to do that day. And I rushed through it. And I like looked at it and like one layer was here and one layer was here.
Yeah.
So I basically gave myself a full mullet. And I had therapy that day, which I don't... I call my therapist.
There's
I'm just like
coming
crying.
in with like a wild haircut from the last time I saw you.
I came in hot.
She's like, "Do you want to talk about what's going on?"
About it? So I was like crying. I was like, I just fucked myself up because part of the reason was I didn't want to go to the hair salon because of COVID. But the other part was like I wasn't going out that much, so I felt like why should I pay $100 to get my haircut when I'm not seeing anybody?
Yeah, and I don't know why, but haircuts are one of the areas that I don't want to spend money on. I don't know why. I will do it in other areas without thinking about it, but that one, I can't.
It's one that I've had to force myself to be like, okay. That was one of the reasons I had long hair for so long was because I would just get my hair cut twice a year.
Yeah.
But then like I also got tired of the judgment because every time I would come in, they'd be like, so how often do you get your hair cut?
I know. What is the right amount?
The right amount for a short haircut is every 2 months. And for a long haircut, it's like every 3 months. Which is like, that's a lot.
It is. It's kind of annoying because it's an hour process. If we had our haircut like how guys do it, guys get them like once a month.
I feel like Mike cuts his hair like twice a week. He cuts his hair a lot. He's very clean
tight.
cut. Yeah. But it's like,
Joe
why
goes
is
in a lot, but their haircuts are like $15.
Yeah.
Where we go, and even if they were,
Yeah, it's $100. It's $100.
yeah, easily. And I feel like they were like, well, it's $15 because they go in twice a week or
Right.
every 2 weeks or once a month. And I'm like, I still feel like if we went in that much, they would still charge us
They know,
$100.
yeah, they absolutely would, because it's like they know that we'll pay it because you have to have your hair looking good. But the thing about hair is like, should my hair be more than my health insurance? Like, I don't know. That doesn't seem right.
No,
Like, am I on like some kind of health plan for getting my hair cut? Like, I need this money in case I get cancer.
I would love a health plan for my haircut. I'm actually
Hair insurance. Yeah.
I am thinking about the next time I go that I should just be one of those people that I get my haircut and I set the appointment for the next one.
I am like getting pretty close to doing that.
Yeah.
When I went into my haircut that day, I actually love this salon and I would like to go back there again, and hopefully I can. It's called Art Room Hair Spa, and it's in Astoria, and they're great.
Oh, I like that it's nearby.
It's on 30th Ave, and they're pretty reasonable. I think it's $60 for a wash and cut, and then I usually tip 20, so it's $80. So it's not bad.
I hate tipping.
I know.
I hate it.
I know. It's like, just
put
tell
it
me,
in
just
there.
tell me how much you want me to pay you. That's
Yeah.
what I would prefer, because then I always feel like I'm always so afraid that I didn't tip enough,
I know.
because I can't really do math.
Well, everybody, 10 years ago, it was like 15%, okay? And then I'll hear people like, you got to tip 20 because prices went up. And I'm like, yeah, that's why it's called a percentage. It moves with inflation. So
Right.
why are we going, now it's 20%? And I do tip 20. I don't want people to be like yelling at me because this is a debate.
Oh yeah. No,
get
you have to
into.
tip 20. You have to tip 20.
I know, but kind of like, why was 15% an option a few years ago?
I
as
know.
the standard.
That's the thing that's frustrating about tipping. It's like, just don't leave it up to me. Just tell me explicitly how much money I'm supposed to be paying, because then I have my phone calculator out. I'm like asking the other people at the table, because it's like I actually can't really do math. And I know it's like embarrassing to admit that. It's like, I'm struggling with simple addition. Okay.
Yes.
Like, I went through math in school. I know I did. I got A's. I had to do remedial math in college. I don't know how to do math.
yes.
So it's like the thing of like tipping, but I know I can do it enough where I'm like, $60, 15 goes into 64 times. That means $15 is 25%. But I just do like a flat. I'm like, whatever.
20 is easier.
Round it up. I'm
'cause
just
you do
rounding it up. Yeah.
10% of each and then twice double.
That makes no sense to me. I have no idea what you just said.
Well, like 20% of 60 would be 6 plus 6, $12.
How did you do that?
10% of 60 is $6.
Oh, yes. 10% of 60 is 6. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I got you.
So 20% is actually an easier math to do than 15%.
Yeah. That makes
So maybe
sense
that's
to
why
me.
people are like, just do 20.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is fine. But it is like when you're spending, now when you get a color, which I do now,
Yeah.
I think my haircuts go to about $300, and then you add a 20% tip to that.
Yeah,
It's
coloring
$60
is so expensive.
I'm near 400 now.
Do you have grays? Is that why you color?
Yes.
Do you really?
I do, and it's more than I want. It's
Mhm.
I'm at this area of like either I want to be no gray or all gray,
Mm-hmm.
but I cannot do the in between. Or give me that one cool skunk look.
I love a hot skunk.
But I don't like. I call it tinsel
Yeah.
because it's shiny.
I know. I get those too, and they're like kind
Yeah.
of like stiff. They're like weirdly stiff, and they're just like sticking out. You're like, that's my gray.
Don't mind it
Yeah.
coming through. Coming
It's
through.
poking
with the
somebody's
gray.
eye out.
It's just I just want to be the all cool gray girl, or like, but it's like in between, and it's usually like on the side. And I notice it doesn't feel noticeable in photos,
Mm-hmm.
but I will notice it when my highlights are leaving, and now it goes against the darker
Yeah.
root that you're just like,
Yeah.
it just makes me depressed.
Yeah.
And then also highlights when they go away, either I should be either brown or blonde.
Right. Right.
I don't know.
I
It's a journey.
I feel this. It is a journey, and I was thinking about getting highlights recently, but I don't know, because it's just so expensive to maintain it. It's like,
it is. And if you do the solid hair color thing, which is usually not how your hair colors anyway, it just seems like I can maybe do that on my own. But that's why, like, I'm like, maybe I should either go blonde or a full solid color brown.
yeah.
And then stop doing the highlights so I can just do at home.
Yeah, so you can just do like the root treatment.
Dude, I've been thinking about, I love it, I just called you dude. I know, I've been seriously thinking about, like, I could probably just teach myself how to do my own hair. Is that crazy?
I feel like, well, I think dyeing it is a lot easier than cutting it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could cut your own bangs.
hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I know, well, what ended up happening to me after I gave myself a full mullet was I ended up going to Art Room Hair Spa, and they laughed in my face. They were like, why would you do this to yourself?
They always do that, though. But you're like,
Yeah.
can't you understand? I don't want to come and sit in a chair for an hour and a half and talk to a stranger that I feel forced to.
I don't love that. I don't love that about. And then one thing I always end up like, I never know where to look. You're like just staring into your own face in a mirror. Your hair's like wet, and you look the worst that you've ever looked. And you're like, is this what people see when they look at me? I'm just like a wet dog.
Yes.
Like, it's never flattering. And so that's traumatizing. And then I got a great haircut. It was a gorgeous haircut, but because of how short I cut my hair, I literally cut it like to here, like my ear.
So you cut it, you did your own and cut it that short.
By accident.
Wow.
Because I thought I was doing, I don't know what I thought I was doing. I remember at one point my scissors weren't cutting that much, so I was kind of sawing my hair with the scissors.
Yeah.
And that's when I should have known it was kind of going wrong. But they gave me a gorgeous haircut. I had like a really short bob, but because it was so layered, my hair grows super fast. It was like growing out so weird, and it was like flipping, and I hate flippy hair, but I had like a weird flip out.
Yeah, I call it the Patty Duke.
Exactly. I had exactly a Patty Duke, and I was like, ugh, I don't like this, but I didn't want to. So then that was last year in September, and then it grew out. But I got that late September. By early December, it had already been growing out weird.
Yeah.
And then I got a series of other different haircuts, which I'm now on like this journey of like each time I get a bob, I get a different bob, and I go in and I'm like, please help me. It flips out. I hate it. I want a textured
you might
bob.
have to get an iron, a chi.
Oh, like a permanent iron? Do you mean?
Just like the ones that straighten the hair a little bit at the bottom.
Oh yeah. I do have a flat iron.
Okay, that's what I was talking about.
Oh yeah. So I mean, maybe that's it. But I think like the last time I got it, I now have a textured bob, and I think she did like undercut it pretty well.
I think that looks really good.
Yeah, I think I really like the way it is now. But so I think I'm gonna try to keep it like this. And I found a woman in my neighborhood who cuts it. She's really good. But now I'm still on this other journey of like styling short hair. I'm blow drying it every day now for the first time. I started using mousse. Sometimes the mousse looks great. Sometimes it makes it weird. I don't know.
It's never consistent. This is the thing about a hair journey is that you had it one day, you have it, and you don't know what you did to get there.
Yes.
You may have slept on it weird. You may have showered at night and then gone to bed and it woke up perfectly. And then you try to recreate it.
Yes.
And it never goes back. And then I feel like you're just chasing the dragon the whole entire hair journey.
Yes, it is an addiction.
I had a haircut 10 years ago from my hairdresser that I ended up becoming very good friends with. She moved away. She gave me one of the best haircuts that I've ever had. And I've tried to get other hairdressers to do it, and they cannot do it.
Oh,
I don't know what she did.
Because that's the thing, though. It's like sometimes... First of all, I've never found a hairdresser in New York that I have been like, this is the person I have to go to no matter how much they cost. Like every hairdresser I've been to is like, you know, I guess they're all just kind of like medium range, you know, a place where it's like, you know, a quick cut, it's $60, $80, whatever, you know, and I've never been to but that's the other thing. It's like, who am I going to go to? Even if they charge $200, I can't just go to a random person. I can't just be like, I'm just throwing $200 in the air and being like, maybe this is it, you know?
Oh, no. And then I've tried to do it's just a haircut. Why don't I just go to TGF haircutters?
Yeah.
Awful.
It's always awful. Yeah.
Awful. I had one, and this sounds like I'm being an albiest or whatever, but she was deaf. And
ableist.
Yeah, ableist.
I like that you said it as though you were special needs. You're like,
she was deaf, and it was so, you know how you're like, when you explain a haircut, you're using descriptors.
Yeah, communication is important.
Communication, and so that one I had to write down on a like whiteboard, and I just felt like there wasn't a connection there. And then another TGF, I was just like, just bad.
Yeah, it's almost, I have a conspiracy theory that they have those like cheap haircut places to make you spend $100 on it. They're just all, it's all by big hair.
A bigger chain. Yeah. I love big hair. It's funny because that sounds like, like Dallas has big hair, but it sounds like a big pharma. Yes. It's like, where are they getting these hairdressers? Well, are they the worst in the school, or are they the people that just don't care
Yeah. I like it. I like it when you're getting your hair cut and then you like slowly realize that the person cutting your hair looks awful. Yeah. You're like, what happened to you? And why does your hair look like that? And then your hair looks like that.
Yes. They push their style agenda on you.
Yeah.
There's one in a store that I went to. She always wanted to do the slanted harsh bob on me. And
I do not like it.
That's what she had. It's like can I speak to the manager?
I know it's a Karen. It's a Karen haircut. And I've had people try to give that to me. I'm like, absolutely not.
Get the fuck away from me.
Because that's like a type of bob. And it's like, that is a bob where like I could see.
It's the Adolf mustache. Adolf Hitler mustache.
It literally is of Karen hair. Herons. But the thing is, I think that was popular. I think a lot of Karens have that hair because that hairstyle was popular 20 years ago, and it's like still popular in the suburbs. Yeah, it's like here it just looks like it looks like you just came out of a time machine with your skinny jeans.
It's weird because that haircut also was a punk rock hairdo.
Yeah,
of the 80s. That I'm like, it's so crazy that a punk rock hairdo it's punk rock, or it can kind of border on the cunt haircut.
Yeah. The hair cunt.
How does that happen? Yeah.
Well, I think it's like when you learn hair, this is my theory. When you learn hair, you just learn like 4 different haircuts.
Yeah.
And like those are the haircuts that you can do. So someone's like, "Oh, I want a bob." You're like, "Okay, well, I can do this."
I'll kind of put it close to the class of haircut that I know. And be like, "Here it is."
Yeah, this is my take on a bob.
No, there are bad. There's a lot of bad hairdressers.
Yeah.
I had one that was so bad. First, she was harsh on my head I don't mind pull.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that doesn't bother me. It was so bad that I had a residual headache.
Oh, God.
For hours afterwards. Also, I knew it was a bad job. Especially the highlight, it was an inch away from my head.
That's not going to be good.
It starts going. And then when she wasn't, like, when you say goodbye to them, they're like, okay, they're usually generally, she kind of like rolled out of the seat. It was such a weird experience that my sister, she bought me the haircut. It was a birthday gift.
Wow.
Because I, just poor. She's like, I'll take care of your haircut. It was really bad.
Oh my God.
I knew it was bad because, Julia Solomon, our good friend, when she saw me, she goes, oh my God, you got it's that weirdo bang. I was like,
so
that's
funny.
not a terminology.
She's so funny. I remember one time I got a haircut that I wasn't super happy about, and I said something to her about it. I was like, she was like, is it, and it's 2 different lengths? Is that what you're worried about? I was like, yes, it's not great. I tried to give direction of I wanted more than 2 layers. I wanted multiple layers, and they just gave me 1 here and 1 here.
Yeah, 2.
Okay.
You're like, that's not what I
wanted the beautiful swooping
but it didn't happen.
But
it's
what
weird.
I get.
You don't think that you would get, you feel like somebody that went to school and that you pay several $100s would do a pretty decent job, but it's like, it is actually quite shocking to know that there are bad hairdressers out there.
There's so many mid-range hairdressers, but I will say the guy at Art Room Hair Spa, he really did a great job. And I went back there once since then, and I had a great haircut, and I want to go back again because I finally felt like right at the beginning of the summer, I nailed the look I was going for with the short hair.
Yeah.
And so I want to go back there and get it again.
That's Great. Do you ever feel weird when you go to somebody and then you're like, or you can't afford them, they're maybe a little too far for you to go, and they follow you on Instagram?
And you're like, now we're best friends, I guess.
Where you're like, I have to go to them my whole entire
That's
life.
so funny.
It's a really weird relationship.
Yeah. It's like now we're inextricable. Now we're bound.
Yeah.
It's like you're married online.
If they see me get a haircut from another person, it's almost like you have to create a whole other story. Like, I was away in New York for months.
I know. Yes. Well, I felt
I
like that
had to
with
get a hair. It was an emergency haircut.
I felt like that with the last person I went to because she was really great. She gave me a fine. The haircut was fine. But I just gave her 5 stars on Google because she said she's been like struggling since the pandemic. It was not the best haircut I ever had in my life.
Yeah.
It was fine. But she sent me an email like thanking me. And I was just like, oh, it's gotten too close. Like, you don't want to be like too close with your hairdresser.
No.
You know?
No.
You want it to be like, okay, if this goes bad, I can cut you out of my life.
I can ghost you. And it's not an issue. I'd like to hear back from hairdressers. Are you fine with ghosting?
Oh,
are your feelings
yeah.
hurt? One time I got my hair colored at the same salon, but from a different guy because that person was available on the day that I needed it.
Oh, yeah, of
but
course.
But then he was in the salon the previous guy, that it was like, are you okay with this?
Yeah.
Is this fine? Like, did I break code? Is like, what's happened? I felt so weirdly bad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awkward. It's so awkward.
Yeah.
And the thing too with like going to the same person and, you know, it's like if you are getting a trim on the haircut that they gave you and you want to maintain that haircut, you need it to be the same person. Otherwise, then the person's, I think like hairdressers can see what kind of haircut you have and they can kind of trim based on it. But it's like, I just think it's easier if they know, like, oh, this is how this person likes their hair.
Yes. My mom's gone to the same hairdresser for, I think, 40 years.
Oh, that's so cool.
But it's so weird where you're like, Mom, don't you think that's like weird that that person's been in your life for 40 years and you know stuff about them, but you've never like gone to a part, like they've never come over to bridge?
Yeah, it is. It's like, that's like a marriage.
It is. Because we know our dentist.
Yeah.
My family would hang out with him. They would go to bridge parties.
Oh, that's so weird.
It is weird, but you're like, why aren't we doing that with our hairdresser? These are the relationships in life that I'm so fascinated by the boundaries that we set with them.
Yeah. I don't have any close friendships like that, I don't think, of people that are like, well, I guess it's probably because I've moved around so much that I haven't really had like a steady dentist.
Well, that's why I didn't mind like going every now and then to the TGF haircutters, because then
pick up a few friends.
Yeah, I could just ghost.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I feel like they're used to the ghosting.
Well, one thing I was doing was when I was on the road a lot, I would get my haircut in a different city. Because I'd be like, you know what? It's actually so much cheaper to get a really great haircut outside of New York. So much cheaper.
It really, I was thinking about going to get my dentistry back in Texas.
Yeah.
And I'm actually thinking about
Everything's
going back
so much cheaper.
It is.
It's so much cheaper. I mean, like, you can get like a haircut that's literally like $150 haircut. Outside of New York, it would be $80, $100.
Easily.
Like, pay $80, you have a great haircut, and then you never see the person again.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it's like, unless you go back to like, unless you're like in Reno again.
Yes.
You're like, okay, I guess look at the most expensive haircut in the town.
Yeah. I don't know. I just find that having, I feel really great when I have a good haircut.
So do I.
So
and it's time for me to get like my ends freshened up, and it hasn't even been I think my last haircut was about 5 weeks ago.
Okay.
So I have a couple more weeks, but now I'm on a thing where it's like, I had long hair forever. Now I have short hair. I'm committed to maintaining it. I'm committed, whatever the cost is. I mean, you know, it's like $80, $100. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad that I can't just like, you know, shell out. I don't get my nails done as much anymore. So it's like, I'd rather have like good hair and no nail polish than nail polish and like ragged hair.
Yes.
Where it's like, what's going on? What are your priorities? I'm like, I'm all over the place. I don't know. So it's like, you have to shift it a little bit, but I think it's worth it. And I feel when I have a fresh haircut, I'm like, yes, I feel great.
Oh, you're on top of the world.
On top of the world.
It's and then you don't even need to spend money on clothes if you have a good haircut.
If you have a good haircut, yeah. It was truly.
Yeah, you're like, I can wear sweats for a while.
You can just wear,
And
just
feel
wear
like a
jeans, wear a
boss.
sweater, live your life.
Yeah.
But I'd actually like to go a little bit shorter, but I'm just worried of how it really will look with glasses. Because I feel like glasses are they're such like a defining element of the face.
Yes.
You know, it's like when you wear glasses, it's like that's the thing that's going on with your face.
Well, I've gone short twice in my life,
Mm-hmm.
in my adult years. I don't know. It's a hard transition
Yeah.
that I feel like if you stay in the ponytail range,
Yeah.
you're good to go.
Ponytail range is safe. It's a safe zone.
Can I just share one weird story I just had recently?
Yes, share your weird story, and then after that we'll wrap up because it's time for us to do our live event.
Oh, yes.
Yes, but I'm dying to hear this.
So I got a short haircut a few years ago, and I was with you. I was doing the bob, and then I kept seeing haircuts that were shorter that I thought were cute, and I was like, maybe I can
Mm-hmm.
pull it off. And I didn't think anything bad of it until I can only see what I like until I see a photo of myself. And there are times where I'm like, that looks cute there.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times I'm like, I don't know if I like that haircut. So I wasn't that down on the short haircut. And then cut to a few weeks ago, I'm going to call him out. I don't care.
Oh my God, say it. I loved that bob on you, by the way. I remember when you got your hair cut and I was like, yes, it was like a beautiful little like summer bob. It was so
Thank
like
you.
classy, cute for summer.
But then I went short, like boy haircut.
Yeah.
And it was a little longer on the top. Could have been borderline Karen. I thought it was fine until a few weeks ago. I met the seller, Mayron Kagani. Just he brings me up on stage. This is late show, so nobody's watched. Nobody cares at whatever hour it is. And he's like, what was that joke that you had about your haircut? And I was like, he was like, something about short hair. And I go, oh, yeah. I was like, I got a haircut. I feel like a new man because it was short.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, that was such a bad haircut. And I was like,
oh my
what?
God.
I thought it was just short. And he just kept saying it.
It's just
No, honey,
vicious.
it
It's so
was
vicious.
It was bad. But I was like, nobody tells you that you have a bad haircut.
Well, nobody will tell you, and then they'll like throw it in your face like a year later. You're like, what? What did I do to deserve this?
It was so weird. And also, that's how you're brought up to. So everyone's on like,
Everyone's like, it's the bitch with the bad haircut.
but it's also like, what is that man doing to this woman right now?
You're just being like Me Too'd. You're being Me Too'd where it's like, you're not being sexually harassed, but a gay man's just being brutally mean to you.
I know, so mean with no jokes whatsoever. Also, I'm like, I thought we were friends.
It feels like to me like that type of thing. Like sometimes people like try to be mean to be funny, but it like doesn't quite get off. But then you're like, well, then you just have to kind of dig in and be like, no, you were scaring people with that haircut. And it's like, what are you saying? Just abandon the bit.
I know that I did. That's what I was like. I know what's happening here. Mayron, I know what's happening. This bit is bombing, or it feels like it's bombing, and you're leaning into it more. As like, it's kind of like offensive comics. Do you know what I mean? When they like, it's not working, and then they're like, I gotta lean into it more, and then it's just like this awful train wreck that you're watching.
Yes. That reminds me of the show last bit. We've really been going over.
Shit.
I love it.
Well, we get talking.
Oh, we get talking. The show I saw you at during the pandemic, someone went on an offensive comic.
Oh God, I want to.
Bombed horribly. This is when we were on a rooftop, shall we say. You, me, and Joe were there, and then you had to go on, and you were like, "Oy vey," and it was just rough. And you get off, and I was like, "Hey, you want a drink, Sarah?"
It was so.
Oh
bad.
my God, it was nuts.
It was so bad that I felt like he actually had a better set than I did, because at least he was getting reactions.
He was like willfully offending people by like saying heinous things. You know the show's bad when the host is apologizing to you.
Yeah.
She asked me if I wanted to do that show. And then after that, I was like, I'm good. And she was like, I promise it'll be better. I was like, no, I think I'm good.
I remember that show and being like seeing the lineup before I got there. And I was like, has this lady seen these comics? Like, We're in the heart of Brooklyn.
Yeah, yeah.
These are club comics that.
Well, some of them.
So yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, we're just like, I don't know, this isn't going to go well, and it didn't go well.
And you could have seen it from a mile off. Oh my God. Well, that's our episode of Lady Journey, everybody.
Yeah, check out our bonus.
We did not get to our other topic, tattoos, but that's going to be for another
God, I'm so
segment.
sorry.
No, hair, we don't just squish hair into 20 minutes on this show.
No, it's a 30-minute topic.
A hairstyle is a lifestyle.
It is.
It really is. And I'm a short girl.
Especially with girls. When Britney Spears shaved her head, we were like, she's going through something.
And we were like, it looks good.
Yeah.
It's like she was like kind of rocking that like Sinead O'Connor thing. It's like, oh my God.
Oh, when I see a girl that can sport a good shaved haircut, I'm jealous.
Ugh, I better do it soon.
Yeah.
I feel like my face is like deteriorating.
I don't know you only know until you do it, and then it's too late.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Lady Journey.
Lady Journey.